I am co-founder of Cult 51. As you'll probably be aware, October was Menopause Awareness Month. And I don't know about you, but as a 40-something female, it's not something that I've ever really considered before. It's not something I talk to my girlfriends about or my mum. And very recently, my wonderful team have done a piece about menopause, and having read through it, I've learned loads of stuff, but also I feel pretty horrified by the effects and the changes that are going to come to my body, and people don't seem to talk about it. So today I'm going to be chatting with the lovely Dr. Harper, who is a qualified doctor from University College London. She's also the founder of the Harper Clinic in Harley Street, and we're going to have a bit of a chat about women's health, specifically the menopause. And as you know, she's sent some questions in. We'll get through as many of those as possible. And personally, I'd like to know about how it will change my skin and my appearance in general.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I'm good. It was interesting listening to what you had to say, that you used the word horrified. So yeah. You know, when it came to menopause and perimenopause, and I suppose, you know, one of the things is that women aren't really prepared because they're not really aware of what's going to, you know, what perimenopause and menopause is, because we don't really get taught it at school. You know, we get taught about puberty and you know, sex and you know, pregnancy and, you know, fertility, but we don't really get to hear much about, well, what is menopause or what is perimenopause? And I think, you know, often what we've heard about it is quite negative.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. And I think certainly from the research that my team has done recently, I mean, it's not funny, but we were gasping and laughing about some of the side effects and some of the things that people just don't talk about. And I guess we're lucky that in this day and age, it's socially acceptable to talk about these things, you know, on the back of mental health and all the rest of it. Yeah. So I think it's brilliant that it's been brought to the fore. And I also feel that we could all be a lot better educated on it.
Yeah, and I think you know, one of the things is, like you said, you know, about joking and laughing. I think you know that has been the narrative around sort of women of this age. You know, they're moody, they have hot flushes, they sort of gain weight, they're not sexy. You know, it's almost like, you know, putting women out to pasture. And yes, you know, there are physiological changes going on in your body. You know, and you know what menopause actually means is your last menses, so your last period. And what's going on in our bodies is that our ovaries, which produce our female sex hormones, estrogen and progesterone in particular, you know, which kick into play around puberty to sort of to give us our lady lumps and bumps, and also, you know, our menstrual cycle, that those hormones are no longer being produced in the ovaries in the same kind of way. And what menopause is when your periods actually stop. So we're not ovulating, we're not releasing an egg from the ovaries. You know, it's the end of our fertile reproductive life. And, you know, for most women, it happens around the age of 50, 51. But menopause happens to every woman, even if they don't have any children. You know, for some women, it can happen earlier, under the age of 45, for 5% of women. And for 1% of women, it can happen under the age of 40. And I think what we're getting to understand a bit more is there are many more symptoms than just hot flushes and mood swings. And these symptoms can start in your early 40s, even your late 30s, also onwards. And that time period is called perimenopause. And what's going on there is that our ovaries are, whilst they're still producing hormone, it's on the decline, you know, so it's on the downward trend.
Sorry to interrupt you. When you're perimenopausal, you're still having a period?
Yes.
That's not the point. That's not that year where you're not having the period.
No, perimenopause is that time leading up to it. So you are having periods, but you might have noticed a change in your periods. You know, they might be heavier, they might be lighter. You might have missed a period, or they might have come closer together. So cycle does change.
Okay. And when you're in that perimenopausal stage, should you see a doctor, or is it something that should just be normal?
Well, it is normal. It is a normal stage of life, but, you know, what the symptoms can sometimes be sort of, you know, quite debilitating. And so, yes, you may need to see a doctor. I think, you touched upon mental health at the beginning. So, some of the symptoms that women experience in perimenopause are things like anxiety, insomnia, flatness of mood, feeling overwhelmed, finding it harder to cope. So yes, you may need to see a doctor.
Okay, that's really interesting. And how long does the menopause typically last, or is that like the $64,000 question?
Yeah, I mean, I think it varies from one woman to another, and that's a good point, because everybody's journey is different. Every woman is individual. Some women may not get so many symptoms. Not every woman has to have experience symptoms which are debilitating or affecting her day to day. But for most women, there are some symptoms. They do often affect many women. So yes, you can start with symptoms even when you've got periods, in your 40s, even before your period eventually ends.
And these symptoms, do they affect you like a period would? So like in a cycle, or is it just a free?
No, so that's one of the things that is happening, because you aren't getting that regular cycle and your hormones are fluctuating. They can almost vary on a day-to-day basis, but you may find that they are worse just before your periods. And you may also find that instead of you having PMT for maybe 3, 4, 5 days, it feels like you're having half a month of it.
Yeah. Okay, that's really interesting. And is it hereditary? So if I speak to my mum about it, which I haven't done, not because it's off limits, I just never spoken to her about it, would I look at how her experience and even my nan's experience, and would that be how I would, should I think, right, well, she had these symptoms? And
no, I would say not necessarily. I mean, I think one of the things to kind of be aware of is if your mother or your grandmother went through an early menopause, then there may be, a hereditary component. But I think from a point of view of symptoms and things, I think our lives are quite different from our mothers and grandmothers, and I think the stresses and strains on our lives are quite different. So I think their experience doesn't necessarily reflect our experience, but the thing to be aware of is in case they went through it at an early stage.
Okay. And why do some people have symptoms and some people don't?
It's just one of those things. Some people are more affected. It's like, why do some women get PMT, other women don't? Why do some women get more sort of regular, more painful periods? Why are some women more sensitive? I think it's just there's no rhyme or reason to it. There's no sort of logic in some ways why so and so should get it rather than so and so. Sometimes there are factors that come into play. For example, if you are sort of more some symptoms are associated more with certain ethnicities. Japanese women tend to get more aches and pains rather than hot flushes. Women of Southeast Asian origin, they can get vaginal dryness symptoms more so. In Western society, there does seem to be more hot flushes, but I think that's also reflective of diet, like sort of alcohol, being overweight, those kind of things, more of a refined diet. So yes, there may be symptoms which might be more associated with your ethnicity or your socioeconomic background. If you're a smoker, you might go through menopause a bit earlier. If you're a woman who's also not had children, you might go through it a little bit earlier. So there are factors that might affect your journey, but not necessarily in the way that everybody has to have the same symptoms.
And from what you've just said about the diet and the lifestyle differences from region to region, that would suggest that I could change my diet or my lifestyle, and that would have a positive effect on my symptoms.
Yeah, so having a Mediterranean diet, sort of lots of fruit, vegetables, things like good fats, avocados, olive oils, nuts and seeds, which may have some what we call phytoestrogen, some weak estrogenic properties, that may help along the journey. Exercise is always good because it helps to improve circulation, blood flow, reduce anxiety, it helps with sleep. So yes, your lifestyle is important. Cutting down on alcohol. Alcohol worsens hot flushes. Also can make you feel a bit more anxious. Reducing caffeine intake, again, reduces hot flushes and anxieties, and will help with sleep. So yes, diet and lifestyle is important at this point. And one of the things is, I think, maybe some of the things that you had been thinking, that your doctor had told you that you need to do, I'll do them, I'll get round to it.
Yeah,
Now's the time to get round to it.
Yeah. And if I can move on a little bit to HRT, is that the answer? Is it? Go on, sorry.
I was going to say, it's not the demon. I think, often HRT is demonized, and it has a bad press, which it shouldn't, because there are lots of positives for it. And for some women who are experiencing really quite bad symptoms, their quality of life is so affected that HRT can really help with those symptoms. And so the HRT can help with the here and now, but also helps in the longer term. Things like osteoporosis, which is weak, brittle bones. It can help with reducing your risk of heart disease, and also help with brain health. We know that how women's brains change around the time of menopause because of the drop in estrogen. Lots of women talk about being forgetful, getting brain fog, having those moments where they can't remember where they put their keys, or they can't remember where
can't remember why you're there.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes women can't even remember the name of a person that they know really well. It's just on the tip of the tongue moments.
Yeah, okay. And if I'm on another medication, let's say I take an antidepressant, given the mental health awareness that's around at the moment, does that mean I can't have HRT?
No.
Okay.
It doesn't really interact with other medications as such. The way to really think about it more is that it's topping up your own ovaries production.
Okay.
So they are much more sort of, I suppose, natural, or body identical, as in similar to what our body would naturally produce. HRT is different from the combined pill, which is synthetic, which is very high doses of hormones. It's not the same as that.
So actually, there's probably an education to be done about HRT in general.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think, for me, it's not suitable for all women. Some women are sensitive, but I think, women should be, like you said, educated. So in the sense that they can make that choice for themselves, make an informed decision, rather than the Daily Mail making it for them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I completely hear you. And so in terms of HRT only being suitable for some women, how long do you take it for? Because I know that, people think of a prescriptive drug like that and they think they're going to be hooked on it. And, how long? I know.
If you go back to how I described it, in the sense of it's a top up, it's body identical. So it's giving you back some of the hormones that your ovaries no longer producing. So in effect, there is no end point to it. You could take it for life if you wanted to. One of the things I always would say is, your dose should be regularly reviewed. You should stay fit and healthy. If any medical conditions turn up, that maybe it might mean that you may need to stop. Suddenly, if you were to gain a huge amount of weight, if you were to develop breast cancer, those are kind of things which obviously we would need to think about stopping. So I think the way to think about it really is that you can stay on it for as long as you need to or want to, and also it doesn't mean to say the dose that you start off with is the dose that you will continue with for forever.
Yeah, okay. And obviously I'm in the skincare business world. How is it going to affect, not HRT, sorry, well, possibly HRT, menopause as well? What changes should I expect to see in my skin and my hair? I've had 3 children, so I'm already completely different to how I was when I was 25. My hair is completely different, my skin, my body, the whole thing, which is fine. But should I be thinking about it changing again, and that lack of control?
Yeah, so I think appearance does or can change, and you know, it's no small matter really, because it really does affect your sort of mental health and well-being. So what you may notice are things like, you know, especially in perimenopause, when your hormones are still there but fluctuating, and you know, the balance is upset. You may even get things like acne, you know, acne rosacea. You might find your eczema gets worse, or psoriasis, your skin's more sensitive. But also that change and decline of hormone, particularly estrogen, and we have estrogen receptors all over our body, you know, and in our skin. It means that collagen that helps to give us our structure and that plumpness to our skin, because estrogen levels drop, it also affects our collagen. And so you may find that, you know, well, what I hear from a lot of women is things like they feel that they've almost like aged overnight. You know, they feel that their skin is lacking that density, that plumpness. It's starting to sag, and again, lines and wrinkles because it's more dry, and the layers of the skin have got thinner. So yes, you know, there are changes going on. And so the other thing is, it also affects your hair in a very similar way. You might find that your hair is thinning, your parting's getting a little bit wider, and again, your hair is more dry and brittle, as might be your nails. So it can affect your appearance, you know, and that can be quite negative for some women. And like I said, one of the things I commonly hear from them is, I feel I've aged overnight. I feel I've aged overnight.
Okay, and just touching on what you were saying about that, would you recommend collagen to people that, you know, feel those adverse effects from the menopause?
Yeah, I mean,
topically or ingestively.
So one of the things with supplements is that, you know, supplements do help many women. They don't have the same kind of evidence and clinical trials as medications would do. But, you know, I'm a woman myself, so, you know, anything that can help, as long as it's not doing me any harm, you know, I'm willing to give it a go. And I think, you know, many women do find that collagen can help with their skin, with their hair. You know, sometimes they take it as drinks, as tablets. So, you know, I'm not anti taking a supplement, or, you know, to support your skin and hair.
Yeah, and are there any more natural supplements that you can available or widely available for perimenopause and menopause that you might recommend somebody, let's say, like me, that I definitely have some of those symptoms that you mentioned earlier, but I still have a regular period, and therefore I wouldn't know whether I was perimenopause.
Yeah, I mean, there are some really good ethical supplements out there. You know, one of the ones that I quite like, you know, and suggest sometimes to women is a brand called Powder. Okay. And also because that's got protein in it as well. So, you know, you can mix it into shakes and yogurts and things, and also has a lot of the supporting supplements that can help women during this stage of life. You know, there's another one, and very much it depends on what your symptoms are. So another brand, you know, there are lots of brands out there, and, you know, I would say there are many safe, ethical brands. You know, there are also supplements such as ashwagandha, which help with sort of stress, which you know, maca, which can help with energy, libido. So, you know, often when I go to sort of recommending somebody supplements, I sort of ask them what their main concerns are, or what are the symptoms that are affecting them at this point in time. You know, it doesn't mean to say that somebody has to jump straight onto the HRT bandwagon.
Okay. And kind of lastly, we've talked a lot about the negative elements of menopause and perimenopause, and as I said at the beginning, I was horrified to learn what was going to happen to me. Is there any positives that we can take from it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it can be quite a sort of liberating experience for some women, and I think it's almost like a time for them to, I mean, and it sounds like an old-fashioned word, but, you know, to blossom. You know, to it can be quite creative. You know, women aren't having to worry about sort of contraception. Well, when they go through menopause, not having to worry about contraception, thinking about sexual liberation and freedom. I think, you know, many women become a bit more outspoken, you know, less caring about what other people think, or holding back. So I think it can be a real new beginning for many women. You know, often their children are a little bit older, they can focus a bit more on themselves, maybe even start new businesses, new careers. It's a crossroads in life. And I think the scary part more is the fact that, I think women aren't aware or prepared, or and I think knowledge is power. Even if it's, knowing about all of those symptoms which, you might seem are challenging, but knowing about them and knowing that actually they're not going to last forever. There are things I can do about it. I'm not alone and I'm not going crazy, I think can be really helpful and empowering to women.
Yeah, I think it's just a fear of the unknown, actually, as you quite rightly say. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, that was amazing. Really, really informative. And I actually feel a bit better about it now. So
Can I share with you my book, which you might find really helpful, actually?
Sorry.
Because, you asked about sort of not being aware. One of the reasons for writing the book was exactly that, so that women weren't horrified, terrified, about this time period, but just to understand what's going on in their bodies.
Yeah, amazing.
So, here we go. It's the perimenopause solution. Oh, here we go. And I've written it with my friend Emma Bardwell, who's a nutritionist. So we have covered diet, lifestyle, nutrition, and HRT, medical side of things. So hopefully giving women, it's almost like, I would say, like a foundation, so that they can dip in and out and get the facts that they want. Okay, and a daft question: where is it available? Amazon. Yeah, of course Amazon it is. and Waterstones. But yeah, I'm gonna get it. Amazing. Yeah, thank you. No, thank you. You've it's been really informative. Thank you very much. No. So I hope you're less horrified now, Michelle. Yeah, slightly. I will definitely No, brilliant. All right, speak to you soon. Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.